This is Samuel Russell, human survivor of an unknown war, signing out. That was the most common phrase heard in the Survivor web series, which ran from 2011 to 2012, over a course of 2 seasons and 20 episodes, and then finally concluded in a movie entitled The Survivor War's End that was made in 2014. The Survivor started out as really just a project while I was bored. I had recently been given a little camcorder, a Leica camcorder, in February of 2011, shortly after the time we filmed The Lost Scene. I decided to take it out, test it out, and I came up with this idea: what if I did a found footage type film series. I decided, and I wanted it to be kind of that front lines. We don't know everything that's going on, a little bit like Battle of Los Angeles in that regard. I didn't want it to be Sam doesn't know why the aliens are here. It's not like an Independence Day where we're following the President of the United States or anyone like that. It's just here we are on the ground. We don't really know what's going on. We're at the front lines of this whole thing, and the audience doesn't really know anything more than what Sam knows, and what they see, what Sam sees through the camera. So, I came up with the episode "The Attack," which ended up being, besides War's End, the only episode that actually was 2 words. It was "The Attack." Everything else was single word episode titles from then on until War's End. But I literally just filmed it, just went out, recorded a little bit here and there, and then went home, edited it, and put together the sound effects. I think I did it all in one day. And just released it, and people were like, "Hey, this is a really cool idea. I really want to see more of this." And I was like, well, I didn't expect that response, considering the last web series I tried to make, myself and Tom, had not impressed its test audience. So suddenly, here we are, we've got a web series that people want to see. So I'm like, okay, well, start working on the first season, and it's going to come out weekly. So I made The Attack, which was pretty simple. I wanted to explain that, he's out just with his camera on a normal day. Alien attack happens. He starts hearing explosions, fighters are flying over. So he decides that he needs to go out into the woods and hide. The second episode, Supplies, I wanted to show that he's gearing himself up for this long war that's about to start. So he's grabbing himself some supplies. I wanted to deal with him having an injury early on, but I also realized I couldn't show any of the fighters, anything flying over. We had no effects put in. Sean got interested in the show and suggested we do some effects, so I decided I'm going to break this season up into 2 pieces. There's going to be 5 episodes made right now for the first 5 weeks, and then we'll finish the other 5 episodes later, so it'll give Sean a chance to put in alien fighters flying over and laser blasts and stuff. So I made that decision pretty early on so I could actually do that, because I didn't think I was going to get Sean interested in the series originally. So, I wanted him to be injured, and he was he got a little bit of a limp going for a little bit. Didn't stick around. I decided not to, by the time I got to episode 3, I decided not to have that to be the focus, because I had an opportunity to have Chris Mooney in the next episode. So, that plot point kind of got dropped, and I switched to having Chris featured in episode 3, Friend. And I just wanted, there to be someone else, so you could talk to someone else's idea. But Chris also was not going to be available for filming of episode 4, so I had to quickly find a way to... Okay, we'll end with the first time the pulse weapon will go off, the little EMP weapon they keep using on everyone. Some kind of EMP type device. As I said, I tried to keep things very mysterious. In fact, a lot of the old sound effects, the fighters flying over was taken from the movie Stargate. It's the gold gliders flying over from the movie. Same with the laser blasts and everything too. The pulse weapon was from Battlefield Bad Company 2. That's where that sound effect came in. But yeah, I just a lot of sound effects are just little random sound effects that I could find. But it gave a little bit of an atmosphere to the show. Plus, I realized, well, I could do it for a little while. I could tease not showing any effects, but I knew I could only tease that so long before it would get old. I was really just going around just filming and just having some fun with it. So Friend came out, had Chris in it. Then episode 4, Reflect, didn't. I really just wanted to. 4, I wanted to delve into the idea of exploring a little bit of what Sam's going through in his mind, a little bit of a psychological episode, because I knew this was going to play a much bigger plot point if I got into a second season and the show started going onwards and him really having to deal with this. I wanted this to be kind of a test of what those kind of episodes might be like, where he's thinking. So, yeah, episode 4, not much happened in the episode. I mainly just did it where he was just talking about how he felt. Episode 5, I decided to do a little more exploring, go a little bit further, going around from Survivor Rock, which has appeared in numerous films of mine. I was a little spot not too far away from where I lived. It was just a nice little isolated zone. It's become known as Survivor Rock. In fact, I took a friend out there recently, and that's what he immediately thought of when he saw it. He was like, "Oh, this is Survivor Rock." I was like, "Wow, I didn't realize people would actually remember it by that name." Yeah, because it was the season 1's most common site, and then it showed up, of course, in War's End. But episode 5, I wanted to take it further out and explore some other locations with radio. And also, I realized with the radio, I could bring in a lot of other people from YouTube. So a lot of people guest starred on the radio, which I thought was pretty cool. So we had things like, I know Matthew Wood did it. Matthew Wood, Ryan Fletcher, Forrest Forte, a lot of different YouTubers ended up being on the radio, and I did some practical effects and stuff where power was supposed to be shut down in episode 5. You know, he goes home one last time. I think it's the last time he's actually at his home in the series is in episode 5 in radio. And then I knew I just had to end it and just not show where he goes from there. Because of Friend, I also wanted to introduce him having a weapon, him actually having a gun. So that's where I introduced, because originally all he has is a kitchen knife. I wanted him to start off with that and kind of showing that he's... there was no easy way for me to build a shelter, a real nice shelter, and be able to keep having that, because I would have had to keep rebuilding it. So I cut that. That was an original idea I had that actually got cut in season 1. Was him actually building a shelter. It was just no easy practical way of doing it, especially in those first 5 episodes, because I was just trying to film every week for the first 5 weeks. After that, I decided we wanted to show at least a little something, so I did kind of, brought out a sleeping bag and some other base camp type materials for the episode 6. But the first 5 episodes were pretty successful. They got talked. People talked about them and stuff. So there were plenty of comments and views and likes. I think it was between the first and second half of season 1, where I suggested The Survivor The Other Video Chronicles, which basically was just going to be an anthology series spinoff with other people filming 1 episode, 2 episodes, maybe even 3 or 4, but it'd be aired in completely separate segments, following other people during the same war. Only 1 episode actually ever got made. A few other people wanted to, but in the end they never did. So it was only ever the pilot episode of that series, which was Joel Reiner filmed an episode which was supposed to be during day 1. That was the other thing. They were going to be set at various times, various people. I mean, while Joel's was set during day 1, there could have been another episode that could have started on day 30. And that's the first time we've seen him record. And just following other people, there could be 1 episode where the person dies at the end and the camera is just found by somebody else. So it was supposed to be a nice little sandbox for people to play in. I wanted to offer people a chance to do that, but no one really picked up the idea and actually went through with it because the 1 episode was ever made. So there was that episode, but that series never picked off the ground, which was a shame because I was looking forward to seeing what people could come up with as well. They just had to, give me the idea of what they were going to do. I just wanted to make sure that it fit within the mythos of the show. And I didn't want them to do anything that I would eventually end up with my idea in my mind of what where the series would go. I didn't want to do anything that would possibly cause continuity issues later down the road. So, all they had to do was basically just run it by me, and I would approve it. And if there was anything that was in there, I would just tell them to tweak a few things, but nothing ever came up, so never had to do that. The other thing that was big about the whole series, including the movie, there was not a single script written for the entire Survivor series. It was all general idea of the show, and then the ad-lib. I'd have a general idea what was going to happen. If I was ever with guest stars, we would discuss it. The only time there was ever a script written was for the radio people. I would tell the radio people what they were supposed to say. But outside of that, there was no script. It was just go for it. That was it. Not a big deal. Yeah, it was starting out pretty strong. Of course, The Lost Scene came out during that time, and Calm Before the Storm, and even The Lost Scene 2 was filmed and came out between episode 5 and episode 6. The whole incident happened, and Survivor's, the second half of the first season was really my comeback after all that happened. That was the first thing that came out. So that came out it was July. Season 1 ended in April, and then in July we came back with episode 6. And episode 6 was the first time we had some visual effects put in. We actually had a ship appear. I think, if I recall correctly, Sean, I think, was there that day. Actually, he's just he's just out of sight of the camera. I think he was there for that day of filming when I filmed episode 6. He was just not in the camera, if I'm recalling correctly. You just can't see him because he wanted to see what clips I would grab. So I was immediately able to give him the clips so he could put in the alien ship. So I actually had an alien ship show up and fly over. So we got our first look at the designs. He had some really cool designs of what these fighters needed to look like and stuff. I had no idea what I wanted the aliens to actually look like, so that was the problem. I couldn't really have us actually see the soldiers yet, because I hadn't figured out how to design them or what we were going to do with that, their weaponry and all that. I still hadn't worked that out, so I knew we weren't going to get that in the first season. Episodes 7 and 8 introduced Cade, which was played by Richard Smith. He wasn't he had promised that he would do it, but then he wasn't really feeling up to it on the day when we needed to film those 2 episodes. So his performance, he's often told me that he feels like that was his worst performance in Blue Diamond Productions, and he kind of wishes he could have gone back and redone it. But I wanted it to be much more of an unstable character. A guy who actually, like, has lost a lot during this war, and somebody who's, you were worried that Sam could get hurt by this guy. But he ends up sacrificing himself because Richard didn't only want to appear in 2 episodes, so I had him, go out there with a shotgun, and he ends up sacrificing himself, and Sam also has to leave Survivor Rock, because I knew I couldn't leave him there in that one location forever. That was going to get boring. So after the 8th episode, I had him move on and go out from there. All the episodes were filmed in order, by the way. Everything was filmed in the order as shown. So, Fighter and Unstable were actually filmed on the same day, but everything was filmed in order. In fact, I think all the shots were even filmed in order. I think I think even War's End was all filmed in order, too. Even the end parts were all filmed in order. Yeah, I think the entire series was filmed in chronological order. I had to explain why, that he's got, like, shaving utensils and stuff. Explain why he doesn't grow a beard or anything like that. Or does grow a mustache between Season 2 and War's End, because I had. And some wardrobe stuff. I tried to keep most of the same clothes. That's why in the end of Season 1, I actually fell and hurt my leg in Episode 10. Cut my leg. Which is why, though, in Season 2 at the beginning, he has actually a bandage. I actually did put a bandage around that leg, even though that wound had healed long since it was way later that we actually filmed Season 2. I still kept and I also kept those jeans. I didn't wear them much, but they had a nice hole rip in them. I was like, okay, I gotta keep these jeans until Season 2 because I want to keep the continuity that he's still wearing these jeans with this rip in them from that fall, because that fall was on camera. It was a pretty nasty fall. But Episode 9, we finally introduced Sean. I want Sean to be a much more reoccurring character. I didn't want him to show up in more episodes than just like 1 or 2. I want him to be the guy who's there a lot. Daniel Thornton. So he shows up at the end of Episode 9. Episode 9 also introduced Sam actually having a machine gun. I thought that would be interesting, but I didn't really want to. In the end, I felt like it was too early for him to be that armed. I rushed myself giving him that in the episode War. So later on, I decided at the end, I was like, between the season break, I'm gonna get rid of it. I'm not gonna have him. I'm gonna say he used up all the ammo. So I introduced him having that. That was some hot days of filming. I actually had to film some parts of War twice. This is why in one of the trailers you see some alternate shots that aren't actually in the episode, because I did actually I had to refilm. I think it was because the audio was too bad. I do remember actually having to reshoot part of War. War and Contact were the longest episodes made for the series as a whole. Most of the episodes in Season 1 were ranging from like 10 minutes to 13 minutes. While those 2 episodes, which were broken up into 2 parts on YouTube, were like 28, 29 minutes long, which makes them even longer than Season 2 episodes. Those were the longest episodes. I really wanted to build up the whole, okay, he's eventually going to run into these aliens with War, and then also with Contact. Contact, we actually, a lot of the things that we found in the episodes were things I literally stumbled on. That old hunter's camp looking thing in episode 10 was just something we found literally at the time we were filming. We just suddenly stumbled upon. We were like, what is this? So our reactions, we're ad-libbing, but we're trying to be pretty serious. We're just out in the woods. That's just deeper in those woods of where we filmed The Shadow of Revenge's pre-title. It's the same location, just deeper into the woods. And then, we had to have the attack. I fell. Almost lost an SD card. We were lucky we found it. It was late at night, in the dark. But I managed to retrace my steps and actually found it. I had actually dropped it when I out of the thing. It had some footage. I know that was important to us. Can't remember what, but we were lucky we found it. SD card almost got lost on us in those woods. Much more careful with equipment after that. So I took that nice tumble. That was real. And then we got to the end of the show, and he gets attacked and then has to leave. So that was the end of season 1, and we were like, okay, now we can spend some time in the next year getting ourselves really set up. I really want episode 2 to be this great episode. Great season. Bigger than season 1 had been. Season 1 had ended and was pretty popular. So I was like, okay, we're going to do a season 2, and if season 2 is as successful as season 1, we will do a season 3. So I had things planned out for season 3 as well. More locations, more time taken filming. I know we filmed during the summer of 2012, after we had filmed Lost Scene 3, Covert Operations, and then it got released at the end of 2012, from October through December. I wanted it to be 10 episodes, and I wanted it much more standardized. It had a new intro, which wasn't, we had a theme from Ryan Rust. We had a much more standardized intro. And then the episodes were supposed to last 22 minutes long each. Which meant I never really had to do much cutting. I pretty much was always able to nail down 22 minutes every time filming. But I wanted to feel much more like a standardized show, so I kind of did that. We started out, I had Sean with us. I tried to pick up where episode 10 had left off at the end of season 1. We picked up from there. We even filmed a little teaser, which had Sean having a camera out. So we got an alternate angle on some things. It was one of the only times that we actually see, Sam, we actually see the camera. It's the only time we actually see the camera. The only other time was I filmed a trailer, a teaser, which never happens in the film, in the series. We never see any of these shots. These shots were all made up for the teaser trailer. But it's the only time we actually see the camera outside of the show. I wanted to show people what it looked like. What did Sam look like? Not when he's holding the camera with himself. And now he has a nice hunting knife. He doesn't have the machine gun anymore. He still has Chris's pistol. And then we went from there. We filmed at Sean's parents' house. We did some filming there. Which we had filmed there before in the Shadow of Revenge. We'd filmed some interior shots there of when Jack Miller gets killed. We'd actually filmed them there before. Sean's character leaves, so then I filmed on MU's campus in episode 3, which I got lucky because it was summer, so there weren't many students out, so I was able to film it in this kind of eerie, empty-looking place. Being able to find places that were just, empty, that was always tough, but I managed to pull it off. I filmed some woods near where I live. Some of the places I went along was the trails that were used in the Lost Scene 3 that I had filmed earlier that year. But we started filming in 2012 with that. We filmed in those woods. I did that for episode 3. Episode 4, we went back to the Mooney's house. Filmed a bunch of episodes there. This story arc, the Resistance Fire story arc, was not as well as I thought it was going to be. Originally, I had, there were going to be 5 or 6 of us there. But only James and Chris showed up. So I had to change some of the script. Because originally it was supposed to be a whole group of survivors in that place. With all the different guns and stuff. One episode got changed. Episode 6 was originally titled Morals. and was done completely differently. First off, showing a bunch of more survivors, I thought was a really cool idea, just to bring in more people, and showing them hiding out in this house. I thought it'd bring some really good drama. We'd interview them, and we'd find out more about them. So the episode 5 interviews, that made a lot of sense to kind of get everyone's story, which originally was going to be, little brief bits of everyone's history, because there were going to be more people, but when it was Chris and James, so we brought back Chris, which should seem pretty odd. How did Chris show up? Which of course then we explained he's an alien imposter. So I came with this idea that basically I kind of reversed the idea of Avatar, the movie Avatar, where basically instead of the humans going and turning themselves to look like the aliens are turning themselves to look like the humans, putting themselves in kind of these bodies of people that they've been able to copy. So I thought that was a cool, interesting idea. But yeah, that episode 6 was supposed to play out completely differently. It was supposed to be much more an argument between everybody about what they need to do with this guy. And then in the end, one of the guys, when they decide to just take him out to a camp, one of the guys just runs up and shoots him. And he's just like, he's one of the invaders. It doesn't matter. And we're just kind of like, well, it does, because now we're just as bad as they are if we're just going to kill unarmed prisoners. That episode didn't happen that way, so it went differently. I had it where my character is the one losing. Originally, my character was supposed to be kind of just watching and just recording. This was going to be kind of almost a non-Sam episode. Sam's just recording. Sam Russell had been a character name. That name actually existed from the old Master Gem stories. My original first movies wasn't where Sam Russell came from. So that's why I adopted that name as my main character name for the series, actually. But Sam was not supposed to be the main character in that episode. We were introduced some of the alien weapons. We never really got to see much of them, but they were starting to be introduced, like the alien pistol, the alien writing. I actually wrote out a whole alphabet for them. I had written up an alphabet, which was missing a couple letters. I know I had it where they didn't actually have like the letter. I think it was like the letter K, and the letter H. There was no equivalent. They only used like C's, no K's. Stuff like that I had come up with. I was trying to come up with an interesting, a whole culture with these people. Sean had been taking some Nerf guns. They didn't end up getting used in the season. The only one that got used was the pistol. But in War's End, we actually finally got the blaster. We actually got some of the blasters shown, like the blaster rifle. Got used. So we finally got the props used, but originally it was supposed to be a lot more, and they could light up, but we ended up only having a couple of props, and we didn't have much in the way of the costumes. Originally we wanted like more armor and stuff, and we wanted to really like arm them up and make them look dangerous, using these avatar bodies still, but also still looking distinctively alien in terms of their gear, and we wanted to have alien writing on the gear and everything. Never got fully realized during that season. I really wanted that to be a season 3 thing. I wanted us to introduce some of this stuff in season 2, and then in season 3 is where we were really going to hit showing what this was going to look like. What this series was going to look like in the 3rd season. But, so we had him get killed, and my character just kind of spirals, and then came up with the idea of a new story arc where he's going and trying to get this journal to this girl. I wanted there to be something for Sam to do, give him an objective. I realized, right shortly after we filmed episode 7, which was not one of my favorite episodes, but the attack happens at the end and James gets killed, and we see a brief glimpse of one of the aliens. It's Sean, dressed up as the Avatars. He was there while we were filming. But but we just wanted it to be, this is what this, we wanted it to be where it's like, we hear a lot of stuff on the radio. Got a chance to use a lot of different songs playing over the radio. I wanted to give it kind of an atmosphere, so you're sometimes listening. And at the end of the day, so we actually filmed episodes 4, 5, 6, and 7 all in one day. A big chunk of season 2 was filmed in one day. All that was filmed at the Mooney's house just in one day. We just had the house to ourselves, and we just filmed all those episodes. And put in some visual effects later on, like the gunshots and stuff. And then episodes 8 and the beginning of 9, I was actually at my grandparents' house in West Plains. It was one of the only times that the show was actually filmed outside of Columbia. Just had a chance to use a different location, so I took advantage of that and filmed those episodes. Wasn't too much. It was kind of basic stuff. I wanted to slow down the series a little bit, kind of explore the whole psychological idea again, after what we had just gone through with some pretty heavy episodes of action. And then in episode 10, bring back Sean and get ourselves set up for season 3. By just having this kind of cliffhanger ending again. By having the big explosion happen right at the very end, and them also going their separate ways. We did the whole them going their separate ways. I did that just in case we couldn't bring back Sean. He was already unsure if he was going to be coming back, because he was already thinking about joining up with the military. So we filmed this stuff, while we were also just now starting to prepare to start filming Reflection of the Soul. We knew we were going to film starting at the end of the year. So we filmed it where we left the option. We could bring Sean back or we could not. So I wanted to leave it open. So we had it where they separated. Now I could always have him where he finds him, and we just continue onward with Sean. But he appeared in like 6 episodes. That was like the most of any guest star on the show. But then the season ended, and then we aired it once a week. So it wasn't where I was busy having to watch every episode. The whole season was ready. By the time the first episode aired, we had finished filming and stuff, and we were working on the visual effects on everything. But the second season just didn't go anywhere. It really didn't. It didn't get many comments, many views, or many likes at all. Second season, it bombed. So then I was like, well, I'm not doing a third season. If this was all of it, I'm going to do something to do the War's End. I'd already come up with the title, War's End Parts 1 and 2 would be the end of the series. It was either going to be the end of the third season, or the fourth season, or the fifth season, if we'd gone that far. Because basically the plan was, if the second season was as successful as the first one, I'd do a third season. If second season had been even more popular than the first season, I would have said a third season with the most likely a fourth season. If the show basically had been continuing and growing in popularity, there would have been a third season, a fourth season, and lastly a fifth season. 50 episodes, the 50th episode being War's End Part 2, the end. Would not have gone... but I didn't plan anything for seasons 4 and 5, because I didn't know if the show would be as successful. But I really wanted to do 3 seasons. That was something I came up with halfway through season 1. Didn't happen. In fact, I've got written down here the season guide of what season 3 was going to be. Because it was going to be another 10 episodes. It was going to be done very much like season 2 was. So what season 3 was going to be was, the first episode was called Aftermath, which basically was going to pick up right after. Now, Aftermath didn't get shown at all in Wars. A lot of the ideas for the third season, I should say right now, were used in War's End. A lot of it got used in War's End. But some ideas didn't. Aftermath was, my description for it was, Sam sees the aftermath of the powerful alien city destroyers. He cannot find Daniel, so Sam decides his days of recording were over. So I was actually going to film Aftermath not too, early 2013, before I filmed any of the other episodes, and then jump later so I could look a little different, whatever I wanted to do with my hair or whatever. But the show was supposed to now take a much more dark okay, now the war is really wearing on. I was going to jump 100 days or something between episode 1 and episode 2 of this season, because the Aftermath was just supposed to show the aftermath of the bomb, and he feel like he's lost everything. But we were gonna really show. We just wanted the production scale to go up. We were gonna show the armor with all the stuff. Fighters. We're gonna have better looks at the fighters flying over. More looks at the alien culture, figuring out why they're here. It was just gonna be a lot bigger of a season, because if everyone was really liking season 2, I wanted to make it the big season, and every season would have just gotten bigger and better as the show progressed. Episode 2, Resistance. Sam starts recording again after meeting the Missourian Citizens Resistance. So we were going to show how he met them, and he starts recording again. So basically, very similar to the very beginning of War's End was going to be Resistance. Patrol was basically going to cover some of their, more stuff with the Resistance. He was going to be on patrol, kind of like what we see in the story. Skirmish was basically going to be the big battle that we have happen in War's End, where we get to see the big battle that ends up costing, Mark Bollinger's character dies, and also Dakota Thompson's character dies. That basically was going to happen in that episode 4. Episode 5 was Morals. I was going to try the Morals storyline again that I didn't get to do in season 2. This storyline is the big one that never got used. It's not in War's End either. Basically, it was going to be they were actually going to have a prisoner, and they were going to be interrogating this prisoner and, beating. There was going to be a high question of morality in it. And at the end, Patrick Colwell's character, because he's so close, as we see in the movie, he's so distressed. I wanted a character like that, because I want him to be the one that shoots him in the end, because he can't stand it that they're just going to give this guy to the military. He wants the revenge. So he was going to kill him. And then tensions, where they're fighting each other, and they keep saying, why are we fighting each other, and stuff. That was going to happen in that episode. Episode 7, Escape. That was going to be the end where Patrick Stark's character dies, and they all scatter. Then Home. It was going to be him coming back. Back to the Survivor Rock and everything, and kind of just here I am, go back to his home, all that. Very deep psychological episode. That was going to be my big psychological episode. And then episodes 9 and 10 were War's End, parts 1 and 2. Now, War's End was going to be very different. War's End was going to... I wanted to actually, I wanted to just get military costumes, and he was going to end up being stuck with a bunch of soldiers. A huge battle. I wanted it to be massive. It's just everything's going on. You thought the battle scene in War's End was big. I want something big where we see fighters flying over, being destroyed, and Sam's just caught up in this big battle, and it's considered doing it in the dark. I wanted to go out to the pinnacles and maybe film some of it. Just get some great landscape shots, and then at the very end, yes, he does fight Cade. That was my big idea for the end. Was yes, he doesn't crawl this, but it wasn't going to be just one-on-one encounter. It was going to be during this big battle. Just suddenly, so holy crap, it's Cade, and now he's fighting this guy, and and he kills him, and he ends up surviving at the very end, and then gives his camera to the military guys, and that's the end of the story, because the war ends. They find out the war has ended, that the aliens are engaged with some other alien race, and they were trying to use us for supplies, and then they can't. We become too costly for them, and they leave. The end. Didn't happen. This whole third season didn't happen. A lot of the ideas got incorporated. into War's End, which didn't happen in 2013. Originally, it was supposed to happen in 2013, but because season 3 got canceled and a lot of other projects got put up first, we didn't film until like April of 2014. Did we film The Survivor War's End? Which, as I said, great group of great cast in that film. I was very happy with everyone's performances. Were like top notch. Very happy with the way that movie came out. I was actually very happy with it. The only bit I was not happy with the movie was what I filmed after the group. When it's just me talking, I thought that went on for way too long. I could trim probably 10 to 15 minutes of that down, and it would have been a lot better. I think the movie would have been better if it had been about 20 to 30 minutes shorter. I think the movie would have been a little better. But other than that, I really liked the way the movie came out at the end. We had Tyler Malloy playing music at the very end. We had a great theme and great intro made for us. Martin Groff's intro at the beginning of the movie, technically, if you wanted to watch the whole series in chronological order, you'd put that at the very beginning of the series. Very, very beginning. Because it's supposed to be right before you see day 1. But I didn't want to reveal that, So I wanted to just be kind of understood. Because I wanted to explain that there's a big time jump. I didn't want people to be confused. It's like, wait, this was day 100, now this is day, 341. It's like, what happened? I wanted to explain that there was a time jump. Because originally Aftermath was supposed to explain that. But episode Aftermath never got made. So we left the series. I didn't want to leave the series on a cliffhanger. I wanted to end it. I wanted to see a conclusion. And man, everyone gave out such great performances considering everyone was ad-libbing. And basically I told everyone to stay in character, keep acting, keep going, no matter where the camera is. So everyone pretty much stayed in character the whole time we were out there. The whole time. Everyone's just being in character. There were a lot of little mini scenes. The problem was we only had one camera recording it. Because apparently there were some great little mini moments going on all over the place that we didn't see everything. I tried to get as much as I could, but, as realistically as I could. Because everyone was having a scene. When I was over talking with, Adam, there was this great little scene going on between Dakota and Patrick. And great little moments that were happening that I didn't even know about some of them until they told me after we finished filming. That's what I loved about it. Everyone was really on board with doing this project. I loved the picture we got of all of us dressed up. It was great. That was the best day of filming for the entire series. The entire thing. The whole Survivor, that was the best day of filming. I think that ended up being the best part of the entire series was that whole segment of him with the entire group. Up to the point at the beginning of the movie, all the way to when Patrick dies, which was filmed on a different day, actually, because we just ran out of time. And originally, there was supposed to be a little bit more stuff going on, but there were some issues where the record button on the GoPro, we actually had another camera. We actually decided to use a GoPro for some parts of this episode, which is going to be another element of Season 3 that got recycled in. I dropped the journal subplot because it wasn't Season 3, because it was just War's End being made into a movie. I just dropped that plot point, so I had it where he burned the journal. Originally, that moment where he burns the journal would have been incorporated into the middle of Season 3. Probably after the episode Morals, he would have burned the journal, because he would have just seen, we've just become a disgusting race now. Now we're just killing people, so what's the point in bringing this journal to anybody? So that plot point just got mentioned in passing. There were a few ideas I had. Some of the stuff he mentions in the past, like me and the girl falling in love, some of those ideas were ideas I had for seasons 3, 4, 5. I want maybe in season 4 for him to actually fall in love. There were a lot of recycled old ideas that I just mentioned in passing instead of having it happen during the time when he wasn't recording. But, you know, we had the final battle and everything. And actually, it's Richard holding the camera at the very end when he walks away, when it's supposed to be the military people. So I just put some sound effects to make it sound like... Originally, I wanted to, like, show some, like, military guys and stuff, you know? But we just ran out of... I just wanted to get the series finished by that point. So, the end of the movie. We actually had a nice premiere for the movie. I had a lot of guys show up and watch the movie. And it went pretty well. It was a fun little... It's one of the longest projects we finished. I mean, it was like 2 hours and 10 minutes long. First project, not counting the martial law movies, first project I ever worked on using Premiere Pro. No more iMovie. So, and the layers of sound effects. Like, putting together that battle sequence in the movie. That was the most extreme, but one of the best scenes in that entire movie. Because everyone had their own unique gun being fired. We had the background noises of all the aliens blasting. We had the main audio. Oh man, it was really good. It really was good. I really enjoyed working on that movie. It was a lot of fun. It was one of the most fun days we ever had in all of Blue Diamond. You know, and Chris was there, you know, being one of the aliens fighting us. Because we needed someone else to be an alien fighting us. So he was out there besides the main group of us. So it was a pretty large collection of people for one day of filming. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed the series. It's not the best. It would have gotten better. I miss not being able to do some of the ideas I had. But at least I was able to incorporate most of them into War's End. But it would have been nice if the show had really taken off and become this really popular series on YouTube, and I could have done like 5 seasons, maybe even done some Kickstarter stuff, and be able to really create a lot. I mean, like the 5th season would have been like blowing people away. I mean, it would have been like huge in terms of props and sets and locations, and just really getting into what the aliens were all about and stuff, and really going into what this war had been like. I mean, I think if it had gone 5 seasons, I would have had the war end. I think I would have had it been like day 600 and something. It would have gone a lot longer. It was a really fun show. I'm really happy with the way it came out, and I'm really glad people still talk about it sometimes and really enjoyed it, and sometimes go back and watch old episodes. So even though it was only 2 seasons in a movie, I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad you all willing to listen to this very long talk about this project of mine that started out just because I was bored one day. I had no idea it was going to become quite the project it was. It did try to inspire a series that Dakota Thompson was working on called Burning Embers, which ended up getting canceled, but that was inspired. I don't know where I have the footage, but I do have some pictures here. This was made for a series that was inspired by The Survivor from his day of filming with us. He wanted to do a series very similar to it, so I was very honored that he wanted that, and he wanted me in there in an episode, and he wanted me to die this time. I was like, I get it. You want revenge for me killing you off. Will there be a sequel series? No. I'm not doing The Survivor Resurgence or something like that. I know a lot of people have talked about, what about him finding all the other survivors? What about all that stuff? I'm like, it's not important to the story. Maybe he did it, maybe he didn't. I've considered writing maybe some fiction, maybe some books based on the series. I've considered doing that. But outside of doing that, there will be nothing filmed. I don't plan on returning to this series. At least at the time being. Unless somebody gives me a really good idea and I'm able to come up with a really good script, an actual script, I don't think I'm going to come back to this series at all or revisit it. I think this is pretty much it. What you see is what you got. I thought it ended well. There were multiple endings ideas considered. We did consider what if we killed Sam at the very end. I didn't want to do that. Even from the beginning, I kind of figured I'd end it with him giving the military the camera and all the tapes, all the SD cards and stuff. And it would be a military archive file. I'd figured that pretty early on in the series. So, yeah. In the end, I'm very happy with the series. I'm glad everyone enjoyed it. And Sam's days are done now. He's at peace in the story, and yeah, so unless I write some books, I don't think it'll ever come back. I don't really want to do anything more with this series. I'm glad I like the way it ended. It's complete to me. But yeah, thanks for watching this very long episode. And I'm glad you all enjoyed the series. It's all on a playlist on my channel if you want to watch all the entire series. And yeah, it was nice finally actually talking all about the entire series and all my ideas and season 2 and what the other seasons would have been like. It would have gone some interesting directions. That's my only regret, is that it couldn't be the full vision I had for it. It got to be about 70% of what I originally envisioned the show to be. So that missing 30. Oh well, it happens. It was a learning experience. I'm glad everyone still enjoys it. So go back, watch it, enjoy it again. And yeah, I'll see you all again in episode 5 of Blue Diamond Retrospective. Take care, everyone.